carrying out those attacks. Now, Israel says it used more than 200 warplanes hitting cities across Iran. Apart from Tehran, the attacks go as far west as Tabriz in central Iran and Shiraz in the south. Israel hit Iran's largest uranium enrichment site, the Natanz nuclear facility. The UN watchdog says it's been informed radiation levels haven't increased there. Now, let's take a closer look at how Israeli strikes wiped out most of Iran's military chain of command. And that starts here, as you can see there, with the elite. That's the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, which wields massive power and influence in Iran. The organization is divided into 8 branches. Its chief, Hussein Salami, second only to the supreme leader in military influence, and he's among those killed by Israel. Now, you also have the aerospace head, Amir Ali Hajizadeh, and he's also been killed. Other top military generals killed include the chief of staff of the armed forces, Mohammad Bagheri, and the deputy commander, Gholam Ali Rashid. Now, Israel also killed 6 nuclear scientists. They include Iran's former nuclear chief and several university professors, some who are still not fully known to the public. Now, here's Katia Lopez-Hodayan on the development so far.
Israeli attacks across Iran mark an unprecedented escalation, with major cities hit, including the capital, Tehran. The target, Israel says, Iran's nuclear program. Dozens of strikes hit military and nuclear sites, including Iran's Natanz nuclear facility used for uranium enrichment.
We must remember that the operation is at the beginning. Iran has capabilities and intentions, as we have already seen.
Among the dead are top nuclear scientists and military leaders. 3 of the 4 commanders in this video who oversaw strikes on Israel back in April are now dead. Iran warns it will retaliate. Tehran launched 100 drones towards Israel on Friday. Most were intercepted. More attacks, the government says, will follow. Iran's supreme leader, Ali Hosseini Khamenei, has said Israel will face a bitter and painful fate, a warning echoed by the president.
The Iranian nation and its officials will not remain silent in the face of this crime. The Islamic Republic of Iran's legitimate and powerful response will make the enemy regret its foolish actions.
Protesters in Tehran are also calling for retaliation. They say Israel's attacks
Right, so we're just going to go to live pictures that you can see there. That looks to me like it's Tel Aviv. This is Tel Aviv. I've been there before. I seem to know that that's the landscape of Tel Aviv there. We've just seen a hit. If that's the case, that looks quite central to Tel Aviv. That is a central spot. I'm just going to still get confirmation whether this live pictures that we are seeing there is that Tel Aviv. Yes, it has been confirmed to me that this is Tel Aviv. And knowing that landscape, this looks like it's a very central area in the heartland of Tel Aviv there, not far from the coastal part of the city there. This is Tel Aviv, what we're seeing. It's still not clear the strikes, how many, but we can see 2 plumes of smoke there. And of course, this is all as Iran has promised retaliation. This is what our reporter Tohed was just talking about, the retaliation that Iran said that we will be seeing. From what we understand, that the Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has promised that this is what will be happening, that the Iranian nation, he said, will not fail in this regard, and that the armed forces will respond with force, were his words. Those are the live pictures that you're seeing there. And all of this comes just minutes before the Israeli military had instructed the public to enter a protected space in Israel. They have many bunkers, many security areas because of those raids that can take place. Until further notice, the Israeli military has given the instruction. Those air sirens have sounded also in Jerusalem, in West Jerusalem and occupied East Jerusalem, after Israel says that Iran has fired missiles, at least one we know of. Now, those explosions were heard over Tel Aviv, and those are the live pictures that you're seeing there of plumes of smoke just happening in the last few minutes. Incredible. And as we were speaking to our reporter live in Tehran, he was also hearing a number of explosions behind him. He still hasn't been able to verify what those explosions are. But what we do know is that Israel has continued those attacks on Iran. It had promised it would do so. And this is the latest that you're seeing. Those are the latest pictures. Huge plumes of smoke. Many people in Israel probably will be already in those shelters. Most places, shops, buildings, residential areas have those across the whole of the city and many parts of Israel as well. Those are the live pictures that you're seeing. And let's bring in Ali Hashim, who's live here with me in the studio. Ali, incredible pictures there. I mean, we've seen many missiles sent over from Iran in the last few months, as there's been a lot of tit for tat between Israel and Lebanon and now between Israel and Iran. But we so far haven't seen anything like this.
No, this is the first time we see such pictures. Yeah, it seems this is an impact in central Tel Aviv, one of the buildings there. Now, of course, we need to monitor also the other pictures coming from Jerusalem, from other cities, whether there are other impacts. But this has already penetrated the defenses, several layers of defenses, and it's, of course, probably the first batch of the Iranian retaliation to Israel's continuous attacks on Iran since midnight yesterday.
As you were just saying there, many layers of defense systems. It has 3 different layers, the most sophisticated in the world. The fact that this has managed to go through is quite incredible. Given the distance between the countries and given, as you said, the air defense systems. We are hearing an Israeli military official saying that dozens of incoming missiles have been detected from Iran. This is what Iran has promised. This is what we're expecting to hear more from the Supreme Leader. Tell us more about what he has been saying on this.
Well, actually, he said that Israel will pay the price for this. And, of course, we later on saw that there's a televised message that he did. And, of course, probably in the coming minutes we can show it. But he vowed to revenge for the commanders who were killed and for the people of Iran who were attacked by Israel. And that is, Israel wouldn't get away with this attack. Now, we're seeing this first batch of missiles being launched from Iran towards Israel, very central in Tel Aviv. How Israel is going to deal with this? Israel said that if there is any missiles hitting its civilians, it's going to escalate its response. Well, we've been seeing Israeli planes just attacking in Iran over hours, since 3 a.m. This morning until the moment. They've not stopped attacking several cities in Tehran, just as Tawhid was saying, and in other cities in Tabriz. They hit the airport. So we are on the verge of something that's different, a new dimension of conflict. We've not seen this before. Even we both of us covered the war on both sides of the borders, and it's never been like this.
And Ali, an Israeli military, obviously, I was saying, officials saying that dozens of incoming missiles have been detected. Now, when Israel has attacked Iran in, well, coming up to 24 hours in a few hours' time, a whole day, different locations, different sites across the country, they've not just been targeting anything to do with the nuclear program. It seems they're going after those long-range missiles as well, those ballistic missiles.
Indeed.
Tell us more about that.
One of the main threats the Israelis spoke about on several occasions is the long-range missiles, the ballistic missiles, the ballistic program. And even when President Trump sent his famous message to the Supreme Leader with the Emiratis regarding talks with Iran, one of the main issues was Iran's ballistic missile program. But the Iranians didn't want to talk about it. Now, Israel thinks that this is just the same, it's just parallel to the nuclear program, and it wants to dismantle it. And today, Prime Minister Netanyahu was saying that they went after the components of building these missiles. But it seems that the Iranians are still capable of launching missiles, despite what happened this morning, killing. I mean, you've been showing the top echelon of the military who were killed. Now, it seems with the new setup, with the new commanders, they've started taking the initiative and responding with a number of missiles, some of them already hit. And now we need, of course, to know where is this going to take us, to what dimension.
This is, you know, what we're seeing now on our screens right now, massive plumes of smoke in Tel Aviv from what seems to be missiles that have been launched from Iran. We still don't know whether there's been any casualties or what the situation is on the ground, because at the moment this is the only shot that we have of what's happening. That's the skyline of Tel Aviv. Let's go to Noor Odeh, who joins us live from Amman. Is she there? Yeah, because she's in Amman. Okay, Noor, can you bring us to speed with what's happening in Israel? Do you have any information on the situation, certainly in Tel Aviv at the moment? And we're also hearing of air sirens that have been going off in other parts of the country.
That's right, Sarah. There have been sirens and warnings across the territory of Israel, and even in the occupied West Bank. Israelis have been instructed to take shelter and to be in safe rooms. That the Israeli army has seen at least the launch of 100 ballistic missiles in Israel's direction. Even here in Amman, we could see some attempts at interception over the skies of Amman. We heard sirens and instructions from the Jordanian armed forces to citizens to stay in their homes, to wait for further instructions. We know of at least one impact, one explosion in Tel Aviv. We don't have details or confirmation of where that impact happened, but what we're seeing, the lines that we're seeing in Israeli media talk about explosions over sensitive areas, explosions reported also across the occupied West Bank. Let's remind the viewers, this is a very small stretch of land, a very narrow stretch of land. Explosions in Tel Aviv can be heard very clearly in Ramallah. So the sound, of course, carries over, and people are still trying to gather information. Certainly Israel and the official sources in Israel haven't been forthcoming about where this impact, where this plume of smoke is coming from. But the Iranian retaliation, which the Israeli Prime Minister told citizens they should be expecting, has now begun, and the public was prepared for a ferocious retaliation from Iran. There have been at least 8 waves of Israeli airstrikes in addition to clandestine activities and attacks on Iranian territory since 2 or 3 in the morning local time. And the Israeli government has been expecting and preparing for an Iranian retaliation.
Noor, it seems also these missiles that were fired, which Israel is saying was fired from Iran. We've had no confirmation from the Iranian side just yet, but it seems that they also spotted going over occupied West Jerusalem. People in Gaza had also said that they had spotted it. Just give us a sense with Tel Aviv, the importance of Tel Aviv in Israel, and judging from my experience of being there, that looks like it's a residential area. We still obviously don't know if there's anyone been injured, but this will be quite a blow. But it seems, though, as I say that Israel was expecting this, as it did warn its citizens to go to those shelters.
It absolutely was. And in fact, we heard from the Israeli Prime Minister, from the chief of the National Security Council, saying that Israel is continuing the attacks in order to mitigate, in order to limit the amount of damage that Iranian retaliation can do. And so there was an expectation of a very violent response from Iran. And this, as we've been hearing from military experts and analysts in Israel, is the beginning of such a response. We don't know, like I said, we don't have confirmation from official sources on the location, on the exact target of the impact that happened in Tel Aviv. But it is easy for Palestinians across the occupied West Bank, in occupied East Jerusalem, and even in Gaza, to spot these incoming missiles, to see also the attempts at interception, because again, this is a narrow stretch of land, and the geography is very interconnected. The distance between Ramallah and Tel Aviv, for example, is extremely small. It's less than 50 kilometers by air, and so it is easy to see even the coastline sometimes on a clear day. If you're in a high building in Ramallah, you can visually see it with the naked eye. So it's easy for all those videos that you're seeing of people spotting all of that incoming fire going to Israel.
Okay, and Noor, with the situation now on the ground for Israel and Iran, what's the latest when it comes to how it's preparing its people for these Iranian attacks? Because it says that it's going to happen and it's going to be big. What can it do, or what has it done so far? What's the Israeli military saying on all of that?
Well, Israel is in a state of emergency. Schools have been shut down since the early morning hours, businesses as well. Everything by way of a normal daily routine has been halted, and only the very basics, the more than crucial activities are being allowed to proceed, including public transportation, that it's only being allowed to be used if absolutely necessary. Hospitals are on high alert. They've been told to clear as many beds as possible, to discharge patients who can go home or receive medical attention in smaller facilities. So there are those precautions, there are those preparations, plans that have been in place for months, if not years. They keep being updated on a regular basis because attacking Iran has been central to Israeli foreign policy, certainly under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu for many, many years. And the Israeli bureaucracy, the Israeli army is ready in terms of planning of how to respond, how to anticipate and try to mitigate any kind of damage to civilian infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much, Noor Al-Day, for that update on the latest that you're seeing, the situation that we're seeing in Tel Aviv with those explosions. We're still getting more information now. Iran has launched hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel, and that's according to the Iranian news agency. Well, moments ago, the skies of Tel Aviv were ablaze as Iran fired a barrage of missiles towards Israel. Some projectiles seen there clearly making impact in Tel Aviv. Israel says its air defenses are working to intercept incoming projectiles. Now, in Washington, US President Donald Trump is set to convene a meeting of his National Security Council. And he's told US media that Washington was aware of Israel's plans to attack Iran and has warned Tehran of more brutal attacks if it doesn't make a nuclear deal with Washington. Now, he issued a statement on his Truth Social platform. In that statement, he says, 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is day 61. And he also says, I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance. Right, well, for all on that US reaction so far, we have Kimberly Halkett, who's live for us in Washington, D.C. Kimberly, what have we been hearing? There's been so many lines coming through. Just brief us as to what's the latest coming out from the US.
You know, after a flurry of activity by the U.S. president, not only in his platform Truth Social, but also giving various interviews to American journalists, he's been largely quiet in the last couple of hours. And we think that's because he is in the Situation Room still with his team of security experts. We know among them is the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, as well as the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, what we know is that there has been knowledge that has been confirmed by the U.S. president as well as by the Israeli prime minister that the United States did know in advance that this was going to take place. The U.S. president reminding people of that 60-day deadline he gave Iran to come to some agreement to limit its nuclear program, but not being able to get there. Now, what does he mean by get there? He means that Iran wanted, and this is the sticking point, to have a nuclear program for civilian purposes, something that the U.S. president suggested was a possibility initially, but then later changed his mind and said there would not be that opportunity and there could be no path to a nuclear weapon. So the U.S. president, despite the fact that the United States initially claiming to sort of not have knowledge of this, and that he had urged the Israeli prime minister on Thursday, as well as a call we understand today that has taken place, but we've not had a readout, while there is the chance to negotiate, to not strike. But again, with that deadline coming and going on the 61st day, the Friday, Israel struck. Now, just very quickly, Sarah, we should point out that this is supposed to be a unilateral action by the Israelis with the U.S. not involved. But given the fact that it knew about this and that much of the equipment has been paid for by the United States, you can understand why Iran is seeing this as an attack by not just Israel, but also the United States.
OK, thank you very much, Kimberly Holkett, there for the latest lines that are coming out of the US when it comes to the Israeli attacks on Iran and now a retaliation from Iran. Let's go to Glenn Carl, who is the US National Security and Foreign Policy Specialist and a former Deputy National Intelligence Officer at the National Intelligence Council, joining us live now from Boston. Glenn, thanks very much for your time. Of course, in the last few minutes, we're seeing these retaliatory attacks by Iran. Some of them seem to have made impact in Tel Aviv, the heart of Israel.
Yes, well, Iran is in a dilemma. It's been struck very hard by Israel, and so for its sense of honor and even its continued stability for the regime, of course, it feels obliged to respond. But it really only has two ways that it can reach Israel. The first are its missiles, and the second would be what we would probably call terrorist attacks against Israel or Israeli interests or American ones, someplace in the world. The missiles have been shown to be, on the whole, ineffective. Now, we just saw, or I've only heard, the fact that they succeeded to hit Israel now, and they will probably be able to do so going forward some, but it's a less powerful weapon than we had feared because of the effectiveness of Israeli and allied anti-missile programs. So Iran's dealing from a position of weakness, but things will probably continue to get worse for a while.
Glenn Carr, Iran's supreme leader has said that Israel is the one that initiated a war, and it says that it will not be allowed to do hit-and-run attacks, is what he's called this. It's a quote from what he's this pre-recorded message. Now, he's blaming Israel for this. Clearly, the dynamics in the region are changing here. Where do we go forward now? Because it almost feels like there's no going back.
Well, I fear, all of us fear, that your assessment is correct, that there's no going back. Iran's dilemma is that its surrogates have been, if not destroyed, have been, for at least the medium term, eviscerated and far less capable of projecting Iranian power against Israel. And its missiles are going to have some effect, but are less effective than initially hoped by the Iranians. And its conventional military is not capable of striking Israel effectively. So for them, the dilemma is, well, what do we do to guarantee national survival? And it seems their choice was either agree to Western demands or develop a nuclear weapon, which is sort of the inoculation against regime change or invasion. And they've danced up to that line for years. And the Israelis have decided, or Netanyahu's decided, that there's enough dancing and that we can't continue any longer to let a nation threaten our very existence, literally to threaten to destroy and kill us all. And so the equation is now moved into a whole new area, that we're dealing with a military option, and the future seems to me to be continued deterioration between the two countries, with a risk of expansion, although I think that's less than we had feared a year ago. How can the Iranian regime survive this, short of renouncing what it defines itself by, which is its threats to Israel and its desire to have a nuclear weapon.
And
beyond that, what does the regime stand for? The revolution is largely ended in Iran.
Mr. Glenn, Carl, Iran's state media is reporting that a second wave of missiles has been launched already again towards Israel. We've just seen the repercussions of that. Those are the live pictures that you can see there from Tel Aviv. Now, Mr. Glenn, is this enough to stop Israel's attacks on Iran? And also, where does the US come into all of this? Because there are diplomatic talks that are still taking place. Whether they'll be happening and going ahead on Sunday, it's yet to be seen. And the US says that, in Trump's words, great American equipment was used. What do we see when it comes to the US
more than
here?
That, right. We've also heard reports from apparently quite reliable sources that it's not just the American equipment that Trump was boasting about, but that the U.S. provided critical intelligence to the Israelis. So perhaps not directly involved, if you don't count intelligence support as direct involvement. But you also touch upon a very important change in the whole equation, which is Donald Trump's policies. What Donald Trump represents as changes from the American approach. He's given essentially carte blanche to Benjamin Netanyahu and the far right of the Israeli political spectrum since his re-election. And he also has been ambiguous, he being Trump, about what he demands from Iran with regard to the nuclear talks. He has been fuzzy, as you accurately pointed out, on whether Iran has to renounce any ability to process uranium, or it will be allowed a civilian program, as seemed to have been likely in the negotiations. Okay. So that remains to be determined.
Yeah, of course, and it's still all very unpredictable at the moment. Again, Carl, U.S. National Security and Foreign Policy Specialist, thanks very much for your time. Let's go back to the live pictures that we're seeing there on your screens. That's the night sky over Tel Aviv in Israel. In just the last few minutes, we've been seeing what looks like more missiles entering the Israeli airspace over Tel Aviv with interceptions that have been taking place. Some of those missiles have been intercepted by Israel's defense system known as the Iron Dome. And this is the blast that you're just seeing from earlier there. Let's just take a listen. Now, just also to bring you up to speed, Iranian state media is saying that it has launched a second wave, is what it said, of missiles towards Israel. Now, let's go to the United Nations. Now, that's where a Security Council is expected to hold an open briefing on the escalation in the next hour or so. Gabriel Elizondo is live for us at the UN headquarters in New York. Gabe, what are we expecting from this meeting?
Well, this meeting was going to be quite important, and now it's even taking on more significance, given the developments that you've been reporting in the last 15 or 20 minutes or so. This UN Security Council meeting, emergency meeting, should take place at 3 o'clock New York time, which is in about 20 minutes or so. The meeting was called by Iran with the backing of Russia and China, two permanent members of the Security Council. We are told that the council will be briefed by Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the International Agency for Atomic Energy, as well as Rosemary DiCarlo, the Undersecretary General for Political and Peace-Building Affairs. We are also expected to hear not only from all 15 Security Council members, but towards the end of the meeting, we are also expected to hear from the ambassadors of Iran and Israel to the United Nations. So we'll be watching that very closely as the events in the region unfold at a very quick pace. It'll be interesting to see what we get from this meeting and from the ambassadors, particularly from Iran and Israel, who will be attending the meeting and speaking.
Yeah, there's a lot of developments, as you're saying there, Gabriel, so we'll have to see what the UN Security Council comes up with. Let's go back to those live pictures again. You're seeing live pictures of what looks like a residential building that was earlier there on fire. Now, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, has delivered a pre-recorded address to the nation, vowing revenge as more Iranian missiles head towards Israel.
Life will become bitter for them, without doubt. They cannot think that they've hit us and it's over. No, they started this. And now they've launched a war. We will not let them get away with this large-scale crime. The forces of the Islamic Republic will deliver huge blows to the Zionist regime. My dear people should know that we have no shortcomings in delivering an answer to this.